it's crazy to think about that too, man. And like, you know, what you see nowadays out here with a lot of the, you know, the newer artists that's coming up, you know, it comes back to a lot of them not really having a lot of guidance, and a lot of them, you know, not really being inept or willing to go back and research, you know, some of the people that came along. And I don't want to keep, you know, beating the dead horse when it comes to, like, you know, just having respect for those that come out. But do you see, like, you know, somewhere down the line that it could be a possibility where we could see a bridging of the gap between the newer generation of artists that's out here in hip hop now compared to, you know, some of the ones that paved the way already?
Yeah, but what happened is there's a Generation X, which I like to say that we were part of that generation. And then there's a Generation Y that skipped everything. And then now there's the Generation Z who's doing what they want to do, zigzagging and zigging. You understand what I'm saying? So zigzag ziggers, they don't know why. You understand what I'm saying? And X holds the key to the unknown. So, you know, that being said, you already know I'm God body. So it's just a whole matter of we skip time between generations. And they didn't get the tutelage. They didn't get the, you know, the guidance, because there was something that went on. There was a void that happened. So now they think they starting recreating something that's already been done. But the whole point is not to beat, you know, like you said, the dead horse. The whole point is to say, how do we mesh it? You know? And that comes from both sides, not just one side. It got to come from both sides. The older generation got to understand what the newer generation is about, especially in hip hop. You know what I mean? Because, you know, hip hop was stated and built on construction, on teaching, on uplifting. Nowadays, you know, and in this past 2-3 years, we have more hip hop deaths that I never seen these deaths like that in hip hop when I was coming up in the 90s. You know, it'll be one good one, another good one, another one, maybe 2 or 3 spread out. We're getting deaths every month, every 2 weeks, every 3 weeks. That's not good. So, you know, I don't know what to call it. I know that the powers that be, who's in charge, who's the upper echelons, you know, be it they're white, black, Jewish, I don't care what they are. But guess what? Somebody got to take charge and say, look, let's really, really gather together, pull it all together the right way, and see if we can even try. There's nobody even trying. There's nobody even trying right now to put it together the right way. And that's just my words. That's just who I am. That's how I see it. You know what I mean? You got too many billionaires, millionaires, this, that, and the third, leading, in a leadership position, but not leading.
I agree. I wholeheartedly agree. And, you know, the sad thing about it is, you know, I have this conversation so many times and so often, and a lot of people be like, yeah, hip-hop back in the 90s and, you know, all that stuff, they glorify drug dealing, they glorify violence, and they glorify this, that, and the third. I'm like, okay, I hear you, and you're right. But at that time, there wasn't, I don't really see it as glorification. What it was, this is letting you know what was going on in these communities.
It's letting you know what was going on and where we're coming from and what we're trying to do that's different.
Absolutely. And then nowadays, you fast forward here to 2022, like you said, almost every week now, it's like every time I look on, you know, YouTube, I'm seeing the video about another rapper getting murdered. I'm seeing more and more well-known rappers in this generation being taken out over some foolishness. And you're right, nobody is leading. Everybody, like, you know, with the way music is being consumed nowadays, it's like they just want more and more of that. It's like you even look at the comments to some of these videos and Instagram posts, and it's like you got people that haven't experienced any of that, you know, egging on the situation and you know, just causing more and more drama to unfold that these rappers are getting caught up in nowadays. Like you said, back in the 90s, you didn't see many rappers dying like that. The most notable that, you know, really died back in that time that a lot of people know about is Pac and Biggie, even though there was some that happened along the way, but it wasn't as frequent as you see it right now, you know?
No, by murders.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about, by murders.
Right.
We didn't see murders like that.
Mm-hmm.
There was some deaths, but there was no murders like beef murdering. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
It was open, you know. It was, you know, a couple died, natural causes, or, you know, maybe some overdoses, or, you know, other situations, but not, oh, this crew's coming after this crew and they killing this dude, and he's the target all day long. You know what I'm saying? We didn't see it like that. But at the end of the day, man, you know, it's just a matter of who's going to take charge, who's going to take lead, or what music are we going to continue to put out. That's the thing.
I truly do agree. And I got to say shout out to, you know, Big Shot Radio, another affiliate that I'm associated with. They have a Silence the Violence movement that they're doing right now that I feel as though is pretty dope, because of the fact, you know, so many of these young artists are getting killed left and right over, you know, nonsense when it really boils down to it. And, you know, I really do support their movement, because, you know, it's time to take a stand. You know, us even also as platforms, even though we know our job is to get the music out there, especially if we feel as though it's hot, but we got to get back into that gatekeeper mode and putting out there what is right. You know what I'm saying? Not just putting it out there because this is the hot song right now of the month, maybe, or because it's talking about a whole lot of, you know, over sexualized, you know, messages, or, you know, doing the bang bang shoot 'em up thing. No, we need to put music back out there once again that's going to be inspiring and uplifting. You know what I'm saying?
True talk. And you're not wrong about that at all. But like I said, and like you're saying now, it's the gatekeepers. You're a gatekeeper. You know what I'm saying? And by you putting out this conversation right now, you're stepping in the right direction. You know what I mean? Like, that's what we need to do. You know, everybody got so over-obsessed with the money and the fame and, you know, the glory of this whole thing, and not wondering or thinking about the moralistic point or parts of it. You know why? Because that's not exciting. But I remember when Tribe Called Quest came out, their whole album was exciting. I don't care, you know, what they was talking about. I didn't hear no violence in anything. I remember when Rakim came out, I didn't hear violence in his. BDP, yeah, they had violence, but they was talking criminal-minded in a way that you would understand that it takes a nation of millions to hold us back. That's when EPMD came. You understand what I'm saying? Like, so the way we articulated ourselves was way different. It might have sounded, oh, we got to stop them. But the stop was only because what they were saying was more positive. Just because of the title didn't mean they were negative. They're telling you that fight fire with fire. You understand what I'm saying? And that's where NWA came from. They were trying to tell you, yo, we know who's doing us dirty. We know who's doing us grimy. But it wasn't, let's go after them and really, you know, kill. It was like, we're the ones being slaughtered by them, so F them. You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
You can't say that, because now you're going against the regime. So it was a whole different approach to, you know, what people would say is violence or not. It's just, yo, come on, man. Right now, we're talking about kill each other, period.
Yeah.
That ain't no good.
Definitely isn't, man. And you know, with that being said, piggybacking off of your point you just made, I think when it really boils down to it, and maybe I may be wrong, and you can correct me if you would like to, but I think a lot of people in this generation, I think their interpretation of the message that was being put out in the music back then, I guess they interpreted it as it was being a glorification of violence, when basically they just, like we said earlier, you know, they're letting you know what is going on in these communities. Like a lot of people, and I've heard the term said before, where, you know, hip hop was the newspaper for a lot of us, because like then we didn't have the internet, we didn't have social media, and we didn't have access to a lot of these other things. We didn't know what was going on in LA unless we was listening to NWA, unless we was listening to, you know, Dre and Snoop, or we was listening to Ice Cube and all that. We didn't know what was going on. So hip hop kind of provided that segue, or that look into these communities to let us know what was going on, and they just telling us what's happening in their neighborhood. Whereas nowadays, like you said, it's just, you know, murder, 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 kill, kill, kill on a record, and that's not a good message to be putting out there. Right.
Well, at the end of the day, you know, the message has to be maybe transformed to a medium where they understand it better, or, you know, it's a hip hop is the learning tool, it's a teaching tool. That's what it always been, you know what I mean? But when you just get into your own way of being, and you just dictate and decide how it's going to be, and there's no foreground, there's no foundation, there's no backbone on it, and you're just going to say what the hell you want to say, it turns into what it is. But that being said, there's a whole lot of hip hop out here that is really, really gracious, really, really dope, you know, and you know how they always say, the truth shines through, you know, the cream rises to the top. You know, at one point it changes. This has always been an evolutionary process when it came to hip hop. Every so often the styles change, you know, the message might change, you know, the gear changes, the whole, you know, style of the look, the women's look, the attitude. I never saw so many women shake booty ever in my life. I mean, coming up, I never saw that ever in my life. But that's what it is all over the place. And it's in the name of hip hop.